You ready, Ben?
Yeah.
You're mine, and we belong together. It's a duet now. For eternity. And that's where you finish. Hey, listeners. And
What up?
And a special hey, hi, hello to you patrons out there. Grr. Why am I having a sexual fantasy for the patrons? I'll tell you why. Because these are the people who have committed to paying us for our work. Pay creators. We love to see it. They don't pay us much. Sometimes they pay $1, $5, $10 a month to support the Sci-Fi Side podcast. And guess what? Let me let you in on a little secret. You can too. If you go to the Patreon link in the episode notes, quick little shout out to Chanel and Marissa who just joined the Patreon party. And Ben has been actually making a more active approach, taking a more active stance to update that Patreon with more exclusive content, including our behind the scenes concerts, which hopefully patrons won't leave after seeing those because they're a little crunchy, but that's okay. This month, lastly, I'll say about the Patreon, we are giving away the book The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead, and this month's winner was Alinda. Hey, Alinda. Listen, Alinda. That kind of doesn't work with like, listen, Linda. Anyway, Linda, we have reached out to you in the Patreon streets and also via Gmail. So answer that so we can send you that book. Now let's get started with the show. Here we go. Welcome to the Sci-Fi Side under the Believe Podcast Network. It's a podcast about Black science fiction and fantasy and staying on the same page of our marriage. Today, for episode 70, Ben, we'll be discussing the film Needle in a Timestack, directed by John Ridley, not by Stephen Mcqueen, as we made a mistake in saying on the Sci-Fi Side podcast Instagram at first. It was directed by John Ridley, based on the short story by Robert Silverberg. Is Robert a black? I don't think so.
He's not.
But we do want to give him credit. If he wrote the short story, we should give him credit. But the film, which is what we actually watched, was directed by John Ridley. But before we get started, Benjamin James Wallen, how's your day today?
Great. And I just want to clarify that I did not mistake one black man for a different black man.
Oh, I think you did.
So, no, I didn't. You did that. You thought Barry Jenkins and Steve McQueen were the same. And
I do confuse Barry Jenkins and Steve McQueen. They are very different, but they do have that like very chocolate, beautiful black man with glasses, bald head look.
Okay.
But I was very wrong about that.
So the reason I confused
So this is how you're doing today, right now?
Yes, I am, but I just need to clarify.
I didn't mistake one black man for another.
I didn't. I've done before.
Right.
But not with this situation. What I did is when I Googled it, immediately I saw 12 Years a Slave. And I was like, oh, I know Steve McQueen directed that. So obviously, he probably directed this. Turned out the producer is John Ridley, who now wrote for the screenplay and directed Needle in a Timestack, which makes me really happy, which we'll get into later, why I'm glad Steve McQueen did not direct this movie.
You know, this is a random aside, but I remember not only did I see 12 Years a Slave, I remember one of my journalism teachers for high school going on a rant about 12 Years a Slave, not the actual movie, but because when Lupita won an award for the movie, all of the articles, you know how you say like, I don't know, air quote, Inception star Leonardo DiCaprio, you know? Mm-hmm. All of the articles reported slave star Lupita Nyong'o, and he was like, this is bad journalism. They should have said 12 years star, whatever.
Oh, because they didn't. Yes. Oof.
Yes, but every article was like, slave actress Lupita. It was just cringy.
Because they didn't want to put the whole.
Correct. So when you do a portion of it. Right. Aren't you that slave star of that movie? God. Isn't that cringy?
Okay, well.
Anyway, but yes, very different
How
movies.
am I doing?
He did produce it.
I'm doing better now because I've clarified myself. We just got off yesterday from doing an 8-hour birthing class.
8
intensive.
hours. We probably saw 80 babies crowning straight from the birth canal.
Yep.
And we laughed and we cried.
I I understand everything about tearing, first degree, second degree, third degree, fourth degree.
They have to call it something else.
Yeah, tearing
Slight
sounds
opening.
so vicious.
Oh, I'm going to be... Literally, you are the only reason I think I'm strong enough to have this baby naturally.
I'm glad, because you are the only reason I think I could have this baby naturally. Think about it.
Yeah,
It
how's your pregnancy journey been so far,
It's
Ben?
been intense.
I think the people actually do want to hear that.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for asking. I've been journaling a lot. I've started a new workout regimen, which is doing my improv classes and then staying and drinking at the bar and going to an improv show afterwards, and then coming back and then bringing you Kane's chicken. Yeah,
that is correct. It's a form of working out, I suppose.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
You're exercising the mind, if
The
you will.
mind. And I'm moving. Improv requires moving.
It does.
Yeah, it's been great. How are you?
I'm doing well. I have a question. When you journal, are you speaking to Wild, or are you doing the Joe Goldberg?
Oh, no, Wild.
It's you.
Wild
Beth.
should not be at all reading my journal.
See, at first when I got pregnant, I started journaling to her, and then it became stuff like, "Dear Wild, your dad's a fucking idiot. Let me tell you what he did today." And then it was just like, I probably shouldn't. This should just be a journal.
Yeah. Am I an idiot today?
No.
Okay. Well,
I'm just saying the journal started becoming the place where I vented to Wild about you, and so I stopped journaling.
I thought you vent to people on your social media. So the social media venting wasn't enough. You needed a journal as well.
Correct.
Do I give you that much to vent about?
No, not really. I mean, if you go, there's only a couple of entries
okay.
over the course of the 9 months, but they do exist.
So you lack the discipline to continue writing.
No, you lack the propensity to piss me off.
Oh, okay.
Which is good.
I see that as well.
Which is great. Yes, but I'm doing wonderfully.
Yeah.
We did watch a lot of births yesterday. We were very tired. I'm very excited because, I've been looking through literally thousands of applications for Black History Month, which has been super fun. And it just, I don't know, it makes me, as much as I'm motivated to I'm both motivated to and inspired by so many businesses. And then there are times where I'm like, I really want to teach a class about this because just some little things on this website are not easy to navigate. And then in reviewing people's applications, I'm like, let me go make sure my website is easy to navigate. So it's kind of a big learning lesson for everybody. But just I got a couple of, messages being like, well, what's a headshot? And I'm an actor, so it's like I keep we are consistently told to keep a headshot on deck.
Right.
Every 2 years you're told, and they're expensive. So there's kind of sometimes it's like this business has so much potential, but headshots are expensive, websites are expensive. So how should I navigate that? So it's just very interesting,
Question for you, you're not getting any product from any of these businesses.
No, a lot of them have tried to send, but I was like, no, I just want it to be equal.
Right. So my question for you, if you haven't tried any of their products, how do you know that they're good?
Headshots. I just said that, no. If you can afford a nice headshot, your product is probably quality. You see how that works.
The other question is that you're also not getting paid for any of this.
No,
so when you do ads, you and I help you.
You do help.
Negotiate a payment that is pretty, expansive and extensive and important. So, I'm not upset for you putting.
Are you offering an opinion about the Black History Month campaign?
I'm not.
I just
actually
for
you going over. You had two business owners, your friends who've run businesses, or
yes, they came over.
They've done management. They came over. They helped you, and I babysat a kid.
Yes, you
as they did that. So I didn't get involved, but I guess my question is, why would you put so much time and effort in something that doesn't have a kickback?
Well, the kickback is me connecting. So kickbacks aren't always financial, right? So the kickback is me connecting with these creators, like Black creators all over the country, truly all over the country.
That's awesome.
We even got some submissions from London as well. And it's also, right? It's helping me sort of create a behind the scenes green book that I can maybe put out and share with other people. But literally the only way that Black people can connect sometimes is via the internet. Right. And via giveaways. And so that is a major gain for me.
Yeah.
And it's I think it will always be important for us to like use our platform to sort of like pour into these ecosystems and communities.
Yeah, I was sort of playing the devil's advocate
You were
a little bit.
and
you handled it quite well.
The devil stay on retainer with you. How much you paying him? Is he black? Is he a black is the devil black? That's the question of the day. Is the devil a black owned business?
My devil is a white devil.
I got
Yeah.
So my devil's black.
Probably. So in all honesty, when I say devil's advocate to my students, they're like, "You're calling me a devil." I'm like, "No, Google, look it up." Like sometimes you need to say things from a different perspective. That is what I'm doing. So now I sort of give them a warning. No, I'm glad you're doing that because here at the Sci-Fi Sci podcast, we focus on Black science fiction fantasy, but we're only doing the podcast because we're making millions of dollars doing it, right? And the authors pay us to come on the show.
Shut up! Stop.
That's
before
not
people
true.
actually think
That's
that because
not
people,
true at all.
People do believe that content creators make a shit ton of money, and some do. Like some do make like the highest forms of them, as we saw on Hype House, but.
Yeah. But honestly, the reason
us beginning mid-tier influencers are making a livable wage.
Yeah, it may be because it maybe this month you do, next month you won't,
right?
Because it's so inconsistent.
Correct.
But I just want to clarify that the reason we do this podcast is because it is about reading books and watching things and discussing. It's not about monetizing, making money. And it's so strange because there's very few places in the world where you don't walk into that space where someone's trying to sell you something, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think in some sense, we're trying to sell ourselves a little bit when we're asking people to join the Patreon. But in a reality, like, we're still going to make this. Like, even if we had no Patreon, if Patreon were to shut down tomorrow, I would...
And we just lost 15 patrons.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I mean, first of all, thank you so much for supporting us because it does make it does make it easier.
It makes us think like somebody's listening.
Right.
I'm sorry, I cut you off.
But I was able to buy like a chord organizer because we sort of have a mess of chords. And so that support makes our job, our passion easier, but it's not a job. And I think, podcasting is one of those places on this open forum where I guess people are trying to sell you because we're literally going to do an ad later. But at the same time, we're not requiring like payment. I was thinking what space, maybe about 2 weeks ago, what space is truly free where you can just come in and you're not required to buy anything or someone's not trying to sell you something. And I saw, I think on Twitter was like one of the libraries, public libraries are one of the only places where you walk in and people aren't trying to like pay for this, do this, you go and check out a library card.
Which is
sad.
Library card. That it's the capitalist spirit in us, right? Like even as I was looking through these pictures, I was like, I should do some consulting. And then I was like, no, this doesn't have to become a thing. I can actually just like give people advice and that be the end of it. But it's also like, well, but how much time did I spend like coaching this person on like what verbiage should they use on their website? And of course, when people have helped me out in the past, they're like, they sort of close with like, just so you know, I do offer mentorship services as a fee. And I was like, I just want to meet with you for like 15 minutes. Like, but now I feel obligated to like send you a coffee when I just had like 2 questions about how our RSS feed worked. So that's just something I want to always be mindful of as I continue to like grow my branding career.
Like choosing individuals not to get something from them, but just to be a mentor, to be kind, not to capitalize on everything. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, to my point, next week we're going to Capricon.
Smooth.
Right? We're going to a science fiction convention, and you gave me some pushback. You're like, why are we going to go and do a panel here? Like it costs money to do that. I surprised you.
I was okay with doing one panel, but then you asked me about doing 3 or 4, and I was like, I am pregnant. I like sitting and talking is additional work.
It's work.
So I can do one, but
you make it look so easy, though.
I know. I am a professional. Shut up.
Okay, so the other reason I didn't tell you this, I'm going to tell you now, is that if you do 3 panels, you can get your refund. You can get refunded. But
you didn't say that.
I didn't say that.
That's very different.
Very different.
You were like, hey, would you like to do
maybe you could get a
more
refund.
Work for less?
Maybe you can get a refund. That's why I didn't tell you. They said if they don't, because, the thing about science fiction fandom and these science fiction cons is that they're run by fans. Like science.
Which I love.
Right. And for the most part, they are not about making money. They're about talking. Where you go to C2E2, it's all about making money, right?
It's like vendors.
But this is a very small, so like definitely come check us out. We'll be there. We're going to stay the night, Friday, Saturday night. We're going to get a hotel because I was like, if I'm going to make Amber come to this, I can't have her like walk around with me all day. One of my friends is going to come take care of Gucci, and we're going to be in Chicago, but we're going to do a little staycation.
That was really special. I want
yeah.
you to know that.
So I felt, but the thing is, you brought it up. You're like, you're not getting you money. Why are you wanting to do this? I'm like, because it's about the great thing. It's about the science fiction. It's so funny. I'm sort of into this. Like, what is this idea? What is the great thing that you would do to not get money, but would take a lot of energy? And for you,
for me, it's the Black History Month.
It's the Black History Month, right? For me, it's this science fiction and getting you like involved with the genre that I love, and then also creating a space where it's focusing on Black creators and Black authors, and for me, like learning and sharing that, and then also for us to be fucking funny, and sort of work out our marital issues on the podcast
on the air. I just always think it's we talk a big game and we try our best to do equity in this country and in our lives. And I one day want Black History Month to be celebrated like Pride. I one day, and I love Pride. I'm not saying those are mutually exclusive. I one day want Juneteenth to be celebrated like Christmas. And so in my brain, it's like when these holidays come around, it is my duty to celebrate them how I would those holidays. Like, it doesn't have to be like put up a huge tree or have
it's
a
not
jolly...
like watching 12 Years a Slave.
Right. And it's not
February.
that. It's like, what's in the Black Lives Matter collection on Netflix? Somebody getting raped and beaten and yes, right. And so this is just a way to be like, there are thousands of Black business owners. Let's grab from the pot and showcase them, and so that's like, this whole thing was about like, I'm willing to put up and put decorations on the tree and make the gingerbread house because it's the holiday. Like, that's how it feels. Yeah. But it's work. It is work.
Fuck yeah. Well, we're going to be at Capricon 42.
Correct.
We'll put the link in there. We'll be there, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah. It's at the Sheraton Grand Chicago Hotel. We're going to be giving a talk on Janelle Monáe on Saturday at 3. I think it's in the Erie room in the hotel. So super, super pumped. Like, come talk to us. You have to be vaccinated and you have to wear a mask while you're there because it's Chicago. That's the expectation.
Chicago not playing. Right.
Yeah. And we'll be wearing masks as well, and we'll be vaccinated and boosted as well. So, yeah, come join us. And at that, let's get in this really, like, sweet message that someone gave us.
Before we get into the actual movie.
Yeah, before talking about the movie, it's more fun to just,
It is.
I mean, the movie's fun. This movie is fun to, like, make fun of.
It is. Oh, yeah, I cannot wait to, like... love and then going on this movie. But we got an amazing, it's not an Apple Podcast rating, it is a rating from a patron. So patrons, if you want like a way to post in the Patreon and have us read, like, please do that, because
we respond really, like Patreon people, like, we don't really respond to all TikTok or Instagram messages.
Yeah, but I literally cannot. Right,
we do respond to every single Patreon message because you're like paying for us.
Yeah,
so I feel,
you got my attention.
You got attention.
And this one is from Marissa. Marissa said, tears. Hi, I have successfully binged all 69 episodes. Took me about a week and a half. What? Listen to some on 1.5 speed, even if it didn't sound too weird. Looking forward to the week to week with you guys. Currently queued up to watch Needle in a Timestack to get ready for next week. Thank you for turning me into a podcast listener.
Awesome. That's great.
I mean, just like the highest, like, you're a teacher.
Yeah.
Like, it's like when your highest performing student writes that paragraph, you're like, this is the exemplar. Like, this is why we live to do that. And bless you for listening to those crunchy episodes.
Thank you, Marissa.
Or when we're still learning. I mean, we are still learning how to not talk over each other, which is nice because it's like, did you listen to last week's podcast episode, Ben? You see how you was talking over me then? You're doing that right now. Like we definitely, like, this podcast has been therapy. Because we ghosted our therapist a long time ago. So this has been really great for our relationship, wouldn't you say?
It has been.
We'll go back to Carol. She was great.
Yeah, she was. Also, finally, please leave an Apple Podcast rating. It really boosts up our listeners as far as like getting that advertisement through Apple Podcasts. So once you hit a certain threshold of like 500 or like 1K, 5-star ratings, Apple Podcasts will end up like advertising the podcast as well. You'll get on other lists, you'll get attention. So for us, even if you can't support our Patreon, money's not, an issue. We understand that. If you just go write a quick review, or if you just go and give us 5 stars, you don't even have to write a review. That would be super helpful. Yeah. Thank you so much. I love
you can put your
you.
honest opinion on that.
Yeah, you can. Well. We read it. Yeah, if I fuck up, which I do all the time.
Same.
Amber will let me know, but also it's good for other people to let me know as well.
It is. It really,
check me.
Really is. Okay, do you want to talk? You want to talk a little bit?
Maybe we take a little bit of a break. Yeah, let's take a break.
Let's take a break.
Yeah, let's take a break.
And we back now.
We're back.
Oh, why does everything have to be a duet? I'm a soloist. Go ahead. And we back. Eh. Go ahead, man.
I'm going to get a little nerdy on you for a second. Can I get a little nerdy?
What you been on me?
A little nerdy on you.
What have you been being on me?
Sometimes I'm funny. Okay, we're not doing that now. So, background of this. The short story written by Robert Silverberg. He is part of this like genre of science fiction authors. They're actually authors who are called the new wave of science fiction. And this sort of comes about when Harlan Ellison publishes a collection of short stories called Dangerous Visions.
Harlan, that's a good
Harlan
name.
Ellison.
Good, strong white name. Go ahead.
Harlan. And in this collection, it sort of presents like where the direction science fiction is going. So up until this point, it was like pulp science fiction or hard science fiction, where the new wave started to look at like the second, third results after a new technology is invented. And it sort of becomes an exploration of big ideas instead of individual technologies. For example, you have, science fiction talking about flying cars and stuff. And now they're moving about, okay, what would be or let's just talk about, or everyone getting a car, right? That's introducing a new technology, right? So, or maybe even flying cars. So the new wave would look at, okay, we have this flying cars, so what is the sociological result of that, right? You get the invention of a new kind of suburb, right? So the science fiction author's responsibility is not to imagine the future with cars, but to imagine a future that has suburbs. Do you understand the difference between those, right? You're talking about a sociological change. And so, or it becomes like more about ideas and less about getting all the science right. And so that's where Robert Silverberg is sort of coming from. So yeah, I mean, also
thank you for explaining that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like, yeah, does that? I think that's sort of what you would probably prefer. Like the difference. I don't know. Like instead of
you
reading,
think I would prefer that to the mere introduction of the new technology.
Right. Yeah. Being like, look at this new technology. Look at what it does. Maybe it's a difference between a Black Mirror episode. Right, mm-hmm. Which is showing you a cool technology, but then it talks about the results of that.
The social impact.
Yeah, where compared to, just a like future alien technology.
Correct. I for sure like that a lot better because I have an access point with that. Because I have seen, social media introduced and now the teen suicide rate.
Right.
I can grasp that a little bit more easy. Yep.
I find that way more fascinating. So I think that sort of new wave, that's how new wave was understood. I believe. People can check me on that. So yeah, we got
New wave. Everything is a vibe. Like,
yeah, I
new
love
wave feminism. Yeah.
Yeah, Ursula Le Guin, part of the new wave of science fiction writers, like really, really fantastic, set of authors. And Robert Silverberg was published in Dangerous Visions. Anyway, I'm done being nerdy. Let's talk about our 4 main stars. We got Frida Pinto, Orlando Bloom, Cynthia Erivo, and Leslie Odom Jr.
I laugh because, Black people do this thing where we sometimes don't call the actor their name. We'll just call them like the movie they're in.
Oh,
it's like, get it,
Slumdog.
Pirates.
Yeah.
So throughout the movie, I was like, ooh, Slumdog is killing it. And I know that that's weird, but she was like one of the stars of Slumdog Millionaire.
Was,
yeah, okay, cool.
Or like Pirates. And,
yeah.
Anyway, so we got these megastar.
Hamilton. Go ahead, Hamilton.
I was so excited to look at this movie.
Fuck 'em up, Harriet. Right.
And also just all 4 of them are like super fucking hot. Like
they are
doing
very attractive,
like hot things, just looking hot inside their really nice homes and shit. So
yeah, sometimes you're like, what was the budget spent on? You're like, oh, just casting.
Just the thespians.
Yeah.
So yeah, this movie, I'm going to give you a summary. It's not going to make any sense.
Yeah, but you have grounded us in the fact that it's going to be new wave science fiction. So I think you've set us up for it to make some sense. So take it away.
Well, yeah, I think that's good. So new wave sort of looks at an essential question. Like, what if you could, go back and individually change someone else's past, right?
Right, without altering the entire...
Yeah, without altering your own past.
Correct.
Right, so that's sort of the big question, which is like a fun thought process, So in the near future, people can go back in time. That's called jaunting. Mm-hmm. And but sometimes when they do that, they affect the past, which also time shifts the present, which causes these waves, which are called phases, to come about. And that sort of has a really cool effect in the film. It turns out this dude, Nick, married his best friend Tommy's wife, Janine. And now Tommy is
Say that slowly again.
Yeah. It turns out this dude, Nick,
Leslie
Odom Jr., marries his best friend Tommy's wife, Janine. So causes their divorce.
A divorce. Yes, thank you.
But actually, we didn't know they were best friends until like 3/4 of the movie in. We'll get into that. And now Tommy,
Nick is a homewrecker.
Nick is a homewrecker. And now Tommy, who's hurt and bitter and just making millions of dollars, is trying to go back in time to get his ex-wife back, which he does.
And anyone would.
And now Nick is, very frustrated because he wakes up after his life's change and he realizes that he's married to his old girlfriend from back in the day named Alex, who's played by Frida Pinto. And now he wants to go back in time to try to get his wife that he originally stole from his best friend Tommy.
Drama. Scandalous.
It's so fun. Yeah. So also Alex, Nick, and Tommy were once all good friends, like a threesome of good friends.
So this is just a foursome.
Yeah, but yeah.
And with zero sex scenes with these very hot people. So I would say that's a heavy opportunity missed.
And it turns out they probably hung out a lot on La Jolla Beach. They hung out a lot on La Jolla Beach. That was their jam. Drank wine.
Yes. You could take a sip every time they said La Jolla Beach, like that summer at La Jolla Beach. And then they finally showed that summer. I was like, this is just a campfire. This is nothing. This isn't a rager. Like, I really thought this was going to be some game-changing beach experience.
Ketamine, dropping K-holin, snort fucking
right,
off the butthole
psychedelics.
I wanted to see Leslie Odom Jr. snort a line of coke off of Orlando Bloom's like chest.
Right.
Boom.
Where's the party? Yes. So there's a lot going on here, and keep going. I'll catch you.
I mean, yeah. So what was your first impression? You said a lot going on. Overwhelming.
It did the Bridgerton, and I'm speaking as a person who did not finish Bridgerton. I watched the first couple episodes, and then so it did the like, oh my God, great cast. Everybody's hot and sexy, and everybody's all diverse, and we're woke. It's 2022, and we're all different races and shapes and colors. And then you're like,
no,
wait,
they're not different shapes.
They're not different shapes. Tall and short, and and skinny,
So-
skinny and more skinny, skinny and ripped.
Skinny and ripped.
And then you're like, but when you peel all that back, there's no substance. It's a cake that's covered in icing with great presentation, and then you bite the cake and it's like gluten free and vegan, and you're like, oh, god damn it! What kind of cake is this? It's like it's a cake. Yeah, it wasn't that great.
Oh.
It had a strong start.
It did. I was sort of sold, and I think if you sat down and thought about the movie and sort of extracted the themes, it became a little bit more fun to talk about. Like, this movie is more fun to talk about,
And it had a strong start.
It did, and it had a definitely a strong start. So I mean, let's just talk about the themes, sort of bring some of that positive energy.
Yeah.
And so one of them is this idea that love is forever. Love is forever. What do you think about that? Is it true? Was love forever?
I don't think love is forever.
Yeah.
Well, it just depends. It depends on if it's familial love. Like, I will love my mother long past her death. You know, like that's a forever love. But if it's like high school sweetheart.
But when you die, you stop loving your mother.
So you're saying that's the part that doesn't make
that's
what makes
that's
it linear,
right?
And not circular.
Yeah.
I mean,
love goes beyond death. I'm okay with that.
Right. But only if one party. I see what you're saying, but I was thinking more along the lines of there's a way that you can love somebody during a season of your life, and then you can close that chapter or whatever. Like, you were in love with people before me.
Yeah, for sure. And I still am. Okay, let me read you this quote.
Cool. Read the quote. Read the goddamn motherfucking quote with your motherfucking hand.
Love is drawn in the form of a circle. No one knows where it begins, and it never really ends. You and I, we are just forever. I call bullshit. I know exactly when I started falling in love with you. It was the day I met you.
I know, but...
Love.
Okay, but... this movie does that thing where it's, you can jump back and it has no butterfly effect because it doesn't affect everybody. It affects just one person. And it's hard because it's, I don't know. Would you really be that, like, of course I want to imagine this world with you always. But, like, if someone altered my past and I met another person who I fell in love with, like, that's okay too.
Yeah. Or maybe you ended up alone. And then maybe you're more happy alone.
This movie made it very clear that it is not okay to be alone.
It is not okay to be alone.
Which is bananas. Like, there was one part where we were like, oh my God, this would actually be a really great place to end the movie. Yeah. I mean, he was pretty sad and lonely about it, but there is definitely a world where you can wake up and you're not married, but you're doing well and thriving in your life. And I don't know.
This film made a decision not to believe that.
This film was like, no, you are no one and nothing unless you are in deep, passionate love with a huge house and a great budget.
So we talked about soulmates.
In the past.
I'm going to flip the page a little bit. We talked about soulmates a little bit ago, and this film also, again, deals with soulmates. We keep on coming back to soulmates, which is so funny because me and you totally disagree on that topic. It's almost as if the things we're consuming is trying to cause a domestic dispute, which is great. I love domestic disputes.
I believe in soulmates.
You believe in soulmates?
I just don't know if I believe it has to just be one or whatever,
Oh, you believe in multiple soulmates. Oh, okay.
It's like I can be connected to this person's soul and...
Oh, okay.
I mean, I do genuinely think if, I don't know, heaven forbid something happened where we broke up, like, I feel like I would definitely, like, still be in love with you.
That's
right.
So sad.
Right. It's sad because you would just move on.
Well, I think there's a great point in this.
Like, you have an ex that you still have, like, love for.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I would be sad if any of my exes were to, like, go through pain and suffering. That'd be awful. So there's a great line in there where Cynthia Erivo...
They don't have to go through pain. They're just not with you anymore.
But if they
Does that
did...
mean they're in pain?
No, I'm just...
suffer?
Well, yeah, I think if you're not with me and you were once with me, you fucking know what you're missing out because I was fucking shit. So you're obviously living a life of pain.
Let's talk about that.
I've been dumped multiple times.
Have you been dumped by every person that you've dated?
I think so. I think it was sort of like, yeah, because, probably.
Okay, tell me about the first time you got dumped.
The
hardest dumping.
That was a clear dump. It was like a shit.
Right.
I was shitted.
Tell me about the first time like you were brutally shitted on.
It was like 2 days before I was supposed to graduate, and I had all these finals. So the person I was seeing like came back. They were in grad school. They came back and was like, "Yeah, I don't want to be with you anymore. I still want to be your friend." I was like, well, "Okay."
Why was the relationship over?
Because I'm a bad communicator. The person was going to a school in a different country, and I was just not communicating back and forth.
Yeah.
Or like they had a really awful living situation. Like their roommates weren't the best, and I was busy. I was living my own life and working, and I was like, I had all my friends where this person went away and started a new school, and I was still friends with all our, friendship, all our group of friends, and it was they were just struggling. So I don't think I was providing that emotional support.
Like when y'all were long distance?
Yeah, and I think like they probably I think when we were long distance, they started seeing somebody else and then sort of like felt guilty and was like, oh, I got to break up with them.
And did you like, were you in love with this person?
Yeah, I was like looking at wedding rings.
Oh, really?
I've told you about, yeah.
I didn't know it was that serious.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry you got your heart broken.
I mean, you mended it.
I mean, that's the...
But then you mend it and break it every day. I mended
it. I gave that bitch a BBL. I did everything to that heart, baby.
No, but you also break it every day, and then you remend it the next day. It's like a constant cycle of breaking and mending. Or sometimes you rip it out, just give me a whole new one.
Like Indiana Jones style. Yeah.
Okay. So what do you think about this quote? No one can make us not happen. Right? Like and that's an interesting idea. Could anybody come between us? Actually, better question. Who would you let come between us?
I mean,
Cynthia Erivo.
She has actually come between people because I think Lena Waithe cheated on her fiance with Cynthia Erivo, so she's a professional come between people. I still love her. She's a bad bitch. Who would I let come between me and you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it a short list or long list?
Now this is starting to feel like a threesome conversation. Like, who would I let literally, like the entrance of this person
would cause the divorce.
Would cause our divorce.
A fracture in our relationship. Who would that person be? They could be alive or dead.
I think the only person that would be our child.
No, I'm talking about like in a romantic interest.
Oh, that's nobody.
No, oh my God, stop.
Yeah,
it.
No, that's
really?
Nobody. No.
Even could you conceptually create a person in your head that's better than me, or do you not even have that creative ability?
Oh, I have. Have you met me? I got more creativity in this pinky finger.
All right. So give me this ideal person.
This person would have to be like a mega millionaire. They would have to be
money.
The
shallow
funniest
as fuck, yeah.
person in the world.
So I'm going to be a multimillionaire very soon, and I'm going to work on being super funny. I'm going to take all the improv
They would have
classes
to
in the world.
be a personal chef, personal trainer.
I'm calling Gordon Ramsay real
quick.
They
would have to have a literal vacation home in every country in the world, including Airbnbs on Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, and Uranus.
Wow.
They would have to really
what I'm saying is this could happen in the future.
If it was
really, Amber?
A robot or something. I'm sure there's some sci-fi girl that would just make
of course I have a long list. I have a long list.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Start with your list.
Oh no, I can't share.
You can share one or two.
I got a whole long list.
No. You don't get to let me do that. Romantic,
Moving
but
on.
No,
what do you think about this idea?
On.
Conceptually, there's this great idea.
You don't get to move on. Answer the question.
All right. You have me working so much that I never have thought about this question before. Like, I would not let anybody, no one would come between us. I would just be like, all right, like Amber's going to be, my primary partner, and then
Right.
Yeah.
Listen.
I will.
To
Yes.
me. If a mega millionaire came along, we would have to do.
We would
the
figure out the
sister husbands.
polyamory.
We would.
We would.
We actually would. Like, I hope
Yeah.
y'all don't think we're playing.
We would
Because we
figure it out.
would. Yes. Life is too short.
Life is too short not to let a multimillionaire be part of your polyamorous relationship.
Correct.
That is correct.
Correct.
Okay, so speaking of millionaires, there's this whole idea that wealth equals misery, right? So turns out Tommy, he's got all this money. Orlando Bloom
That's Pirates, right?
Yeah, he's rolling in the dough, and he's single before he takes, Leslie Odom Jr.'s partner away from him. And he's like rolling in the dough, and they have this conversation where, he's miserable, and it turns out, there's a line in there where Cynthia Erivo says, like, even wealthy people can be miserable and depressing. And
There we go. Which is true, but it's just
which
like,
is true, but
what did that contribute to the actual plot? Like, nothing.
I think it could have if they explored it more, but we really don't see Orlando Bloom's wealth, and like, give me this image of wealth. Give me him flying to a different, a different, planet. Yeah.
Or give me the image of the misery that he's going through. Because
yeah.
I don't see it. Like, he doesn't look like he's fighting for his, like,
he looks
where's
good.
this? He looks amazing. You remember, like, halfway through the movie, I was like, I gotta go.
Yeah, you did.
Come
yeah.
back. Yeah.
Oh, it was for Orlando Bloom.
And Cynthia.
People have told me I look like Orlando Bloom in the past.
Who has
Legolas.
who has said that you look like Orlando Bloom?
You can see it in the eyes, or like I'm looking at the camera right now. There's a facial structure to me that's like sort of Orlando Bloomy. Carnival Row is pretty good. It's his new show, and yeah.
He's hot. No, he can still get it any day. I'm just saying, like, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, you're super hot, you're super rich, and now you have like the most beautiful wife. Tell me what all this depression is that you have. I believe that you might have it, but like, we just were not shown that as an audience, and we weren't really invested in these characters. They weren't really well developed. Like, there was not one character where I'm like, wow, I know your story. I know your struggle. I know what makes you happy. I know what your passions are. I know what your fears are. Like, I know maybe like Leslie Odom Jr., like, his fear was losing his wife, but he also was so concerned with that. He lost her and then kind of got her back, or kind of was the start of getting her back at the end. I don't know. I didn't really feel like they had a lot of chemistry. Are they two beautiful black people? Of course. But I didn't see their love and was like, oh my God, I want that love.
Oh yeah, no. Oh my God. Yeah.
Like, she's like, I love cats. And he's like, you know what? I don't like cats. And in another world, we had a dog. I was like, what is this? What's the appeal here? Like, yeah, y'all are hot, but what is this mega love story? Like, show me the beginnings of y'all's relationship. Show me, I don't know, one love making scene. Show me why this is the woman of your dreams.
I know we're not like the sigh portion, but I remember, you saw the cat on the table and you were like, oh God.
Yeah.
That was like a huge sigh for you. Like, cats on tables in movies. Remember when you wouldn't
That's like a black no-no.
I mean, but you also like animals in movies bother you way more than they bother me. Like, I really wanted to watch this film. I love Christmas movies, and there's this movie called like A Boy Called Christmas, and there's a little rat in it, a little mouse, and I was trying to watch it. You're like, I can't watch it.
I can't do mice.
I can't do it. This, like, you were seriously triggered.
I was triggered. Mice are like,
what are you, a Gen Zer?
Sure. I'll be whatever. Mice, the entity that would come between us is a damn mouse. Because that almost broke us.
Like a human mouse you can have like mouse human sex with, like a half human,
like
half
if
mouse.
you and Wild one day were like, we
see.
went to the pet store and got a pet mouse, like, I would probably like not stay here.
Really?
It's that serious. Like, I can't.
I mean, okay.
The tails.
What would you have to do to overcome your fear of mice or mouses?
Every fear isn't meant to be overcame. We have to stop perpetuating. It's okay to have some fears. Like, what's wrong with that?
Okay. Stupid. All right, let's go on with the obsession with the past. That's another theme here. We have an obsession with the past. Do you obsess over things from your past? Do you have any like major big regrets?
I don't. They asked us that in the childbirth class the
They
other
did.
day. I'm more obsessed with the future. Yeah, I think I'm pretty obsessed with the future. Like, especially, as this belly continues to grow. I'm like, oh my gosh, I still have until April. Like, this isn't batty,
Yeah. I'm more concerned with the past. And like
Really?
Nick, Leslie Odom Jr.'s character is very much concerned with the past. And he's become so paranoid at one point that he ends up going and hiring a time track phase disruption memory protection.
Wait, what is concerning to you about the past?
Oh, I just obsess over it.
For
I think
example?
did I make the right decision to go to grad school to become a teacher? Did I make the right decision to move to Chicago? Obviously, I'm with you. Did I make the right decision to, not run as much? Did I make the right decision to, just questioning all my decisions? Something that they pop up occasionally, like, oh, I should have did this, I should have done that. Or I'll have these memories.
Oh my God, you do
where
have
I
these
do
memories.
I do something like really embarrassing, or I say something disrespectful or mean, and I am overwhelmed with this like cringing, horrific sense of guilt that I will actually like shake my head, or I'll like get like I'll verbally say something almost comparable maybe to someone with Tourette's, but it's not Tourette's, obviously. But
Yeah, you do
it's sort of
that a
like, that was stupid. And like, what happened? I'm like, well, this thing 10 years ago. And Amber's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I'll hear you in the shower being like, oh. And I'm like,
Showers
are you
are the
okay?
worst. I hate showers because
Yeah.
there's nothing I can focus on to get me rid of my own thoughts in my own mind, which is why I always like to, I know what you do in the
Whereas
shower.
I'm in the shower. What?
You belt out like you're fucking,
Well, I do that, but
Tina
sorry,
Turner.
This podcast is getting harder and harder. This baby is literally just kicking me for like the last 20 minutes.
Ooh,
but
sorry.
no, it's fine. I'm in the shower thinking like, why am I not more successful already? Like, I'm just in the shower thinking about the fucking future. Like, why hasn't it happened for me yet? Like, where is my TV show? Like, how long? And now I'm having this baby, and now my whole career is about to be over. Like, I know that that's not gonna happen, but that's what I'm obsessed with. Whereas you're like, God, this party I went to 8 years ago, I spilled a drink on this girl. I'm just like, who cares? We're not rich yet. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Well, I just think it's funny that people capitalize on our fears, and if you have the ability to change the past, of course there would be like a phase disruption memory protection industry. Like literally that phrase is used. I thought that was just a great piece of writing, which is going back to why this feels very new wave for me. Like that was something from the short story. It's a short story or a novella, and I love that. So I appreciate a lot of things about this. But let's go ahead and get into the size.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say, like, people are obsessed with time in general, and the unknown and the uncertainty of time. That is why, like, psychics, there's a huge market for that, or televangelists. It's like,
Yep.
Everything from like, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. Like, let's repent for things I've done in the past. And there's also like, look into this crystal ball and please tell me like what I should do. And that person's like, you should go out to the water and do this in 3 days time. You'll see the sun that you've been missing. Like, there's totally, that's how, sadly, that's what happened. I'm not trying to call everybody who does medium work and psychic work a quack, but I'm just saying, like, there's a huge market that plays on people's fear. And
I think quack is the wrong word. I think because it's more about taking advantage. Like, do you use fear to motivate people to coming to if you are a psychic, or you're a pastor, or you're a priest, or you're, any form of religious leader or spiritual leader? Do you use fear to garner followers to get money, right? Like, that's the problem. And
I do.
You use fear. No, use comedy and love and toxicity to attract people to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but of course, that would be part of that. Let's get into
Nice
the
read.
science.
Yeah, let's get into it.
So originally, like we were saying, this idea that being alone is awful and you really need to be with somebody is something we mentioned. Anything to add to that?
I mean, I've never felt more not alone in my life with this child. Like, even when I am by myself, I am not alone.
And you're miserable.
I'm not miserable. It's amazing to, like, you remember the other day when I was going on a rant with you about, like, can you please not use my washcloth? I have nothing to myself anymore. My body is now someone else's. This house I share with you.
I see what you're saying.
This dog, he is my comfort, and he is literally right at my feet right now. When I shower, I need to wipe my ass with just one thing that is mine. And so
I'm hearing that not being alone makes you miserable. Okay, that's what I'm hearing.
I need alone time, and you're worse than me. You could go a month without fucking with me, you know?
Oh yeah, I would be very happy just being alone.
Yeah, or even
or with somebody.
Or we've probably said this on the podcast before, but there was this one time where we had first moved in together. We were definitely struggling. That was like probably the hardest part of our relationship because we moved in after about 2 years of dating.
It was less than 2 years. Yeah.
Well, it wasn't.
It was a year and a half. It was over a year and a half. Yeah.
I don't think the actual living together would have been as hard if you did not move in with me. You moved into a house where there was already stuff. And so it was really frustrating because you didn't have a place to really call your own. My stuff was already there, blah, blah, blah. And there was one point where we were probably fighting every day. And you were like, is there a world where I could just move out and we could still stay together? And I was like, nope, that world don't exist, baby girl. I was like, if you move out, we're breaking up. And you were like, what? And then you were like, George R.R. Martin and his wife live in separate homes. I was like, I'm sorry, who? At the time, I wasn't reading any sci-fi. So I was like, who the fuck is that?
They don't live in separate homes. He has a separate home for writing. I want to be clear about that.
Right. Well, you were just like, see, that's a situation where he can go and write over here all day. Yeah. It's like, well, we're not fucking Carrie Bradshaw and Big. We have $1,000.
Yeah, and Big's dead, so spoiler alert. You're gonna have to delete that.
He's dead in the show, and
he's canceled.
He's canceled. Chris Noth, what a sleaze. But anyway, yeah, I definitely don't think we should continue perpetuating this idea that, like, if you are alone, like, you are lonely. Like, I have a few friends in my life right now who are single and have no intentions of getting married, and they're happy, and we go to brunch together and we vacation together, and we just have different lives, and that's okay.
So yeah. Changing the page, another sigh is that in this movie, Cynthia Erivo is a photographer and Leslie Odom Jr. is an architect. He does architecture. And it's so stupid the way they show their trade. Like, there's all these Wired videos that are like survivalist breaks down survivalist scenes. You can watch them. They're really entertaining. But I was like, a photographer breaks down a photography scene. And even I can tell right away that this person knows nothing about photography, aka Cynthia Erivo. It's just cringy. And yeah, it was
What's cringy about it? I thought her editing tools were really cool.
Yeah, I mean, the tools were cool, but there's this scene where they show her editing a picture, and we're supposed to like think that she's doing some like artwork or something, or that she does this photo shoot every day of the same group of people and like this art. But even the way she's like holding the camera and like leaning up against something and sort of just staying there and only using one camera, like even just watching a professional photographer work, like the moving in and out, like looking, pausing.
You a photographer
I'm
now.
not.
Now that I taught you how to do a little
I just
social
didn't
media.
I didn't believe it. And my uncle is an architect, and I see how he works, and the way that the plans.
You talking about that uncle?
Yeah, that uncle.
Oh, you be seeing how he works, huh?
Yeah, he's a great uncle, but he's amazing architect.
We can't be talking about Mike.
Yeah, Uncle Mike. He's the
cool,
shit.
He cool. He likes to party though.
I just felt like the photographers were not like, I don't know. I didn't buy it.
I don't care. Like there's more to people than their trade. Like, why are we getting these long scenes? It felt so long near the end. If you saw it, you know what I'm talking about. Like, you had to pause and take a stretch break because these long scenes of what people do for work. And it's like, what I do for work is not completely who I am. And I work in, Yeah, and I work in a lot of like what I do for work is completely who I am, but it's like also a part of who I am is like who my parents are and how I like my coffee every day, and there was no depth to these characters outside of their professions.
Yeah.
What do we give me 3 things about Cynthia Erivo that we know? She's a photographer. She likes cats. What's the third?
I literally
just about her.
It's you can't actually.
Like, why is he fighting for this woman?
That's the big problem with this film, right? And it's funny because Nick has this sister, Zoe, played by Jaden Wong, who's like one of the best characters.
Also,
and Jaden
have an Asian sister. Yeah, we're not going to talk about this.
Yeah, that was strange. And Zoe has like a girlfriend, maybe friend, Sibilla, who only speaks Portuguese. And it's really, really strange. Their whole like relationship,
because like they're clearly together now, yeah, but they're not. They're like, she's my best friend. It's like, why do we not just make them a couple? What's the big deal?
I don't. Maybe Zoe's like asexual, or I don't really understand that whole. But Sibilla, who has like one scene in the whole film. Like, we know she loves rock climbing. She knows she only responds in Portuguese, but she understands English. So, like, why is she only speaking Portuguese? We also know she likes skydiving. Like, there's all these things about it, this tertiary character that made me really frustrated. Like, they needed character development because there fucking was none. And I mean, I think that's a pretty great way to end on.
Yeah, I agree. God, it once again, this is me in the shower later. Like, it frustrates me so that people have budgets like this.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no writing. I was like, I have shown people more depth of who I am in a 30-second TikTok than you have in a movie with a 90-minute running time.
So embarrassing.
People can watch a video that you or I have edited and say, like, I don't know every detail, but I know exactly who that girl is and where she's from. And I know exactly what that guy reads. Like, yeah. And I know exactly, I don't know how they got together, but I know, like, these are 2 very distinct characters. And so it's frustrating when you have, I mean, the actors were just like top tier. Like, Leslie Odom Jr. is at the top of his game right now, and it just came off as bad acting.
Yeah.
And it wasn't bad acting. The writing was bad. Even Jaden Wong, I was like, I'm obsessed with this girl's voice. She's doing her best, but she can't carry the script on her back. Right?
Yeah, when there's no script to carry.
There's no script to carry. They were better off improvising.
Which is unfortunate because, Robert Silverberg is an amazing author. He's absolutely incredible. And coming from those new wave of like science fiction writers, I don't know.
You look really cute right now.
You look really cute right now.
Do I really?
Yes.
We should probably take a shower.
We should definitely take a shower. Let's end talking about this terrible movie.
Ben, why don't you warp up the show?
Yeah, I will definitely warp it up. In conclusion, the questions Needle in the Timestack ask are interesting, but we've seen it done way better. Watch it if you need.
TikTok.
Yeah, on TikTok. Watch it if you need to write a paper on time travel love stories, but skip it if you don't have a paper due. That was funny, right? I wrote that. See, I can do stand-up. You laughed at a joke that I made.
Thanks, man. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Sci-Fi Side Podcast. Up next, we will be reading. I put this on y'all's radar, but go ahead and get the book if you can. We will be reading Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James. It is a pretty lengthy book, so we're going to be reading pages 1 through 240, and we will be discussing those pages. So that's going to be part 1, and then we'll do a separate episode on part 2. So pick up Black Leopard, Red Wolf. And also, we'll be at Capricon, so check us out. I will put all of that information in the description box. Love y'all. Bye, y'all.
Bye. Also, we're reading parts 1 and parts 2.
Did I not say that?
You said the page number, but sometimes books have different like pages if they're hard or soft. So we're reading part 1 and part 2.
Part 1 and part 2.
I should have been clear. Oh, wait, I did say in 2 parts. Right, got it. So the first part would be part 1, part 2.
And I love you. I'm gonna stop this.
Okay, bye.